My name is David Jones. My wife Janet and I have been in Helen since 1973, and we run Hansel and Gretel Candy Kitchen in downtown Helen and on the south side of Helen. That's the question we're asked all the time. What brought us to Helen? How did we get here? And it's kind of an interesting story. Janet and I had met in Atlanta, and we got married in 1972. My parents had sold a farm in Alpharetta and had bought a farm up here in White County and moved up here. We came and visited some, and one Sunday we were going home, and I looked at her and said, why don't we go back to Atlanta? I don't like working in downtown Atlanta. I really prefer to, like I've always been in my life, being out in the open someplace. And so we got home and called my father and told him that. He said, well, there's a guy here in Helen you can talk to. His name is Pete Hodgkinson. We could talk to him and see what he could do for us. And so the next day we wrote him a letter, and got in touch with him, and he said, come up and see me. So he set a date on a Saturday. He came up here and visited, and he told us what we could do. It'd be not much money to be involved. It'd be an opportunity to be involved in Helen. So my first job was, the Hellendorf Inn was being constructed here on the river in downtown Helen. It was being built. A guy named Roy Sims was building it, and Pete had to go to work for Roy Sims. Pete paid me, but I worked for Roy Sims. And that was about 6 weeks or so, 6 or 7 weeks with the Hellendorf. And I was doing odd jobs. I mean, scraping the floors, just doing whatever, picking up trash. And so that went on. The Hellendorf, first phase of Hellendorf opened on August 3rd of 1973. And in the interim there, we'd been here about 15 days. A lady called my father one Sunday afternoon and said, a guy she worked for owned a candle shop and a candy shop downtown Helen, and in a little alley, and he was in bad health and wanted to get out. And she asked my father if he'd be interested in something like that. And I always thought it was kind of odd that she did that, because he was involved in real estate. He was buying real estate here and there, but he wasn't interested in renting stores. But he thought, yeah, I could do that, and Janet could work there, because I already had this lucrative $100 a week job, scraping up trash and stuff. So we looked at him and said, why don't we just do it ourselves? And so he said, yeah. So we called and talked to Pete, who I already knew, and Pete said, yeah, come on over. So we went over there, and there was a man who was a candle maker in Florida who was moving up here, named Joe Kennedy, and he wanted the whole thing, but because Pete felt like he liked me enough to do me a favor, he let Joe have the candle shop, and we got the candy shop. They were connected. There was a little double door between them, and we closed the door off there. We had this little room that was 18 by 13. It was so small you couldn't even see it from Main Street. It was just in the alley, in the middle of Helen. And we had no idea what we were doing. We had no money. We had no experience in running a retail business. I'd worked all my life. I worked for my family business, but I'd never run the business myself. Neither had Janet. And but we jumped into it. We had a trip to Jamaica planned for our first anniversary in August, and we cashed that back in. It was about $550, and we got a business license, and we got they got the power turned on, we got a phone, paid a month's rent, bought a little bit of merchandise, and opened up, and we had nothing to sell really. But that's how we started. And it wasn't making any candy, it was just buying and selling candy based on what the previous owner had told us. That's how we started, and then one by one we learned things, and that's how we got to Helen. The story's a lot longer. The story gets more involved because now we're a much bigger operation. We were buying peanut brittle from a couple in Atlanta. They would bring it up to us, and we would sample it and sell it. It was very, very, very prosperous operation. We sold a lot of peanut brittle that way. And they decided they were going to move out west, and so we asked them to teach us to make this brittle ourselves. And so we made it ourselves in our home. In those days, you do things differently maybe, but we made it in our little house, about hundreds of packs at a time, wrapped them up, brought them into town, sold them in a store, and we did that for a while. And Jimmy Carter, we actually started doing this in November of 1973. I'm sorry, November of 1976. And Jimmy Carter had just got elected, and anything peanuts was a hot item. And so we made and sold 10 tons of peanut brittle in our kitchen at home in 1977. I didn't mention this, but we also had a baby born in November of 1976. So we had to work our schedule around a baby nursing, and my wife making peanut brittle and wrapping it. So it was a process. We learned. Then we added other things along the way, and now we make just all kinds of things now. very small, very quiet. When I mentioned the Helendorf was being built, the Helendorf was the first real new project since Helen started the transformation in 1969. For 4 years, there'd been some remodeling of old buildings, but nothing new had been built up to that time. So the Helendorf on the banks of the river, away from downtown, was the first project to be built there. And that field out through there, which runs from where we are, we're at our factory right now, which is down. People say the south side. It's actually the east side of Helen, but from here back downtown, there was about 40 acres of empty. It was just fields with barbed wire fences and fence posts. And the only thing out in that field out there was a riding stable, and people went horseback riding. So after the motel opened, Pete's next job for me was to go out, take those fences down, roll up the barbed wire, stack up the post for Roy Simpson, get rid of for us, and then I mowed all the fields out with a bush hog. I mowed every day, 5 days a week. I mowed those fields out there and got the grass down to a level. There was a plan to build a golf course down the way. In fact, there was one green that existed out there that was professionally built, and probably not professionally paid for, but built. It was there for a long time. We actually had a 9-hole golf course at one time. So that was kind of my next job there. Meanwhile, we were running our little store downtown where Janet worked. We had no children back then. We had no children. I'm sorry, no children at that time. So we just worked 7 days a week together. When I wasn't down the field, I was back at the store with her. I think it's a big deal. We just recently celebrated 100 years of Helen in 2013. The city itself being 100 years old. I think 50 years is an accomplishment that nobody would have dreamt of when they did the transformation back in 1969. None of those people, with all their foresight, can imagine these things being going on 50 years later. I've had a process of remodeling a number of buildings in town, including the one we're in now and some things downtown. And you can tell the way some of the things were built, they weren't really planning for 50 years or 60 years of use. We had to replace a lot of different things and rework things, but it's been a challenge. It was a challenge back then because they were taking John Culloch paintings and sketches and building buildings from them. No engineering whatsoever, no architecture, simply just look at these pictures and building these buildings. So it was a fascinating process, and I think it's fun to, because you find an occasional picture. If you go back to the first balloon ascension picture, it's a link off the Helen balloon site. You can find a picture shot of a balloon down the middle of town. In the background, you see the field out there, and it's empty. And it tells you what Helen was like. The picture was made in 1973, the year we came. It was on the cover of a magazine in April of 1974. But it shows you there was everything there was to Helen. Just about was right there in the center of downtown Helen. About 25 businesses, one and a half, 2 motels, several restaurants, and that was it. And it was amazing that it survived then and to be what it is now. In the early days, we had to do everything. Everybody had to do everything because there were just so few of us. So we had our jobs, and we also had our other things we had to do. So I was involved in fostering for about 25 years from the start until in the 2000s. I finally got tired. It was a lot of work, and others have gone on to do a very good job with it. The Bavarian, which is the fostering group, has done an excellent job with it. And they have a nice group. They do a nice parade. They're a good bunch of people, have a lot of fun. But I was involved in that for about 25 years. I was president of the Chamber of Commerce in 1981, quite a long time ago. A lot of what I do is simply based on making sure our business works. I put a lot of time into our business because we came here, we found this business, and we also found that people close early. And we said, I asked Pete back in August of 73, can we stay open later? Because I noticed that people are walking around. We had the Sound of Music going on downtown, a little theater. And I said, people are coming to see those plays. And everybody closes at 5. Can we be open, a little later? He said, sure. So we pick up, $20, $25 a night, which for us was a lot of money back then. I was making $100 a week in my other job. So that was one thing we got into, and we still to this day, the people call and say, ask what time they close. Is that true of all shops? I say, well, some are open later and some are not. It's a hard thing to teach, but a tourist town is also a nighttime town, and especially in the summertime, summer and fall. But it doesn't sound like a lot of involvement, but running a business, and it went from being 234 square feet to being 13,000 square feet of operation. It's quite an accomplishment, and it took a lot of work to get there. We're in our 47th year this year. We just started our 47th year. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, and I'm also proud of the people who've helped us over the years, because we've had something like maybe 600 employees over that period of time. A lot of turnover, like any business, but we managed to take it from almost nothing to starting with 3 employees at one time. Then we've gone up, and in season we may have 35 or 40 employees, and so I'm proud of that. I'm proud we're able to offer opportunities for people to have jobs in the county. There are a lot of good job opportunities in Helen. There are a lot of good restaurants and hotels and motels and lots of good gift shops and things. And so there are a lot of good opportunities for people in this town, and I'm proud of that. Yeah, I read positive and negative comments. People make both. And the negative comments, I don't mind a negative comment. If somebody doesn't like something and tells me why they don't like it, I'll discuss that with them. If somebody says, well, this is this or that, and that's not true, I find that kind of offensive, And people say a lot, it's not like it used to be. And I'm not sure what's like it used to be in the world. There are a lot of changes in the world. There are a lot of changes in White County. I mean, we came here in '73. There were probably about 7,400 people in town, and the county, and there are probably about 30,000 now. That's tremendous growth. Things have changed. It went from a farming community to there are a lot of residential suburbs in White County that didn't exist 20 or 15 years ago. So there's been a lot of change, and I think most of the change has been positive. One thing Pete stressed earlier on, Pete Hawkinson was the guy who ran things back when we came here, and one thing he stressed was he liked to have a lot of individual things. He didn't want to have a lot of things duplicated. That happens despite you best planning, because people are people. But there's a lot of variety in town. There's a good variety in restaurant food. We have probably, counting our fancy hotel up here in Innsbruck, Valhalla, and counting everything down through town, there are probably 15 or 16 restaurants where you can sit down and have a meal apart from fast food or chain restaurants. I mean, we also have those, but we have about 15 or 16 restaurants where you can sit down and get a meal, which is pretty impressive for a small town like this. Helen produces a lot of tax revenue for White County. We help pay for a lot of things. That's just the nature of the business. If you're successful, you're going to pay taxes, and that's part of it. So I'm proud of that. The whole village. I think the village has done very well.